Hi, hello, and welcome, one and all. We are back once again with more Triple Z, more Zenless Zone Zero, and we are severely sleep deprived. Let's go. I don't think I will ever be able to do a stream that long ever again. What's going on, Swev? Good to see you, man. JD, how's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Hope you guys are doing fantastic since yesterday. Hope you guys had a great day. Hope you had a good night last night. Wagadaba on YouTube. What's going on, my friends? Hope you're all doing well. Yeah, we that was the longest stream that we've ever done on the channel. We went 10.5 hours. Oh my goodness. Cannot do that again, I don't think. Ironically, I felt pretty great throughout the majority of the stream. The only thing that really kind of got to me towards the end there, like towards the last 2 or 3 hours, is I was very hungry. I was really hungry, and I was like, okay, I need to get some food in my body. But from a like rest perspective and from like a focus perspective, like yeah, I was locked in pretty much the whole time. So now that the Yunquei arc is finished and it's on to idle time, indeed, I am ready for some happiness. I know we're gonna still get like probably some good like tragic backstory or a sad backstory of some kind of the Angel's Delusion, but I am ready to feel wholesomeness again and not like, oh yeah, by the way, I've lived my entire life suffering from loss of memory and like intense pain and loss of senses. And oh yeah, my sister died and I am heavily traumatized. And oh yeah, by the way, I am this cute little pink bunny rabbit that I work in corporate New Eridu, and I was abandoned by my family because I could provide them no contractual value. Yeah, we're gonna hopefully move on. It's that type of like tragic backstory is always gonna be in Triple Z, right? But I think we're gonna feel a different tone of the game and the story going forward. So, JD, did I hear Delusion like in Genshin? Not quite. That's just the name of their band, the Angels of Delusion. They are three adorable little teenage idols, I believe. Actually, I don't know how old the Angels of Delusions are. I would imagine that they're teenagers. They're very small. They're all very tiny. Suna, Arya, and Nangong. They are small little idols. Librarian, hi there. Idol chapter, more like filler. I want filler at the moment. Does that make sense? Like I have been put through the ringer. I was like on the roller coaster all last night, all day and night yesterday, really for the most part, and it was yanking me to and from and back and forth, and I was just like, bro, this is the best roller coaster of my life, but please, I need to get off. And then now we are riding like the carousel, like we are riding like the spinning teacups now. Hopefully, give me some wholesomeness, give me some filler, allow me to fall in love with these three adorable girls and their band, and I will. That's all I ask for. That's all I ask for. JD, that's a name. Well, JD, I have no idea why they're called the Angels Delusion. I have to assume it might be, part of the story, part of how they met. Who knows, right? It could be part of their brand. I don't know. That's what we're gonna get into today. Welcome up, but this time we have a snack. This time we have a snack. Oh no, Sissia is next. Was Sissia? Sissia is 2.7, right? Or 2.6? No, 2.6 was or maybe Sissia gets introduced in this story quest. You know what I mean? Because they usually introduce them ahead of time. Yeah, Sissia came out in 2.7, but yeah, Wagadaba makes a good point. We might get introduced to Sissia in this story. I don't know. Don't spoil it for me. Don't spoil it for me. Don't tell me. Um, but yeah, 2.7 Sissia was released, so that was Snick. That was indeed Snick. So, the Limit, what's going on, my man? Glad you were able to make it in. Whether filler or not, I really enjoyed this quest, one of my faves. I heard a lot of great things about this story quest. A lot of people said, like, oh, 2.6, the return of good storytelling in Zenless Zone Zero. And I'm just sitting here like, uh, excuse me? I liked season two. I liked Wi-Fi Peninsula. I had a great time with Wi-Fi. Like it feels sad. Like I kind of don't want to leave Wi-Fi quite yet. Like I feel like I but at the same time, I got such closure yesterday and last night. We were live not too long ago, so who knows? We're moving on whether we like it or not, right? But 2.6 onwards, story feels different from the Yunquei arc. Gotcha. Which, if it's anything like season one, I mean, I loved season one. I actually do think so far I've preferred season two over season one just a little bit. I will say though, I do agree that from like an objective perspective, like okay, what's the better story? Like from a textbook perspective, I do think season one is better. Season two definitely has more pitfalls, more dips in the roller coaster, shall we say, than season one does. But I do think season two has like the higher peaks. You know what I'm saying? Like season two reaches a higher potential than season one, but it also reaches lower lows in season one. So personally, I think Yunquei arc suffered from a bad intro, like a half-assed connection to Yunquei was formed. I don't necessarily think it was a bad intro. Here. I'll talk about it more later down the line, probably this weekend once we catch up. I think the main issue with season two or the Wi-Fi, Peninsula arc is the fact that we had, I think, reliably, we had one great antagonist, one, and it's Isolde, right? I think Sarah was okay, right? Because she's been around for a while. She's cunning, she's manipulative, she's intelligent, right? But she didn't necessarily feel like that impactful. And then every other antagonist was pretty forgettable, unfortunately. Isolde was great. Isolde is the best antagonist in ZZZ, easily. And I'm not saying that season one's antagonists were fantastic. They were also somewhat forgettable, but they felt like they weren't necessarily at times distracting from the story. At times with season two, I was like, man, these antagonists are really letting the story down. You know what I'm saying? The best example I think was 2.1 with Spook Shack with Yuzuha and Alice. Like Yuzuha and Alice hard carried that story, man, as you would expect. They're the main characters of that story, right? But fuck me, I can't even remember the guy's name. It was like one of the Porcelumix executives, like one of the true CEOs. And I was like, okay, no, I'm not really about this. So, but yeah. Obo and Spook Shack stories weren't bad, but Yun Kuei felt sidelined. We hardly got to see us train with Yi Xuan. I do think uh I do think I'm a bit more partial towards Yi Xuan than most people, but I do agree that I would have liked more time invested in Swabian Temple. That would have made 2.4, 2.5 hit a bit harder for sure. But I like Yi Xuan's character. I know a lot of people criticize her character. There is a few problems with her character, but I think it's less her character and more so the plot. I don't think the story writers really thought ahead when they made Yi Xuan and introduced her so early. So, you know what I was thinking last night, guys? What would have been kind of interesting? What if they flipped the introduction of Yi Xuan and Ye Guang in the story? What if Yi Xuan is the one who's missing at the beginning of the story and Ye Guang is introduced in 2.0? The character arcs are the same, but they're presented in a different order, or built up in a different way. I thought maybe that could work. I was like, what if they just switched places, like switched priority? Maybe then I could feel like the build up is more properly distributed amongst the two characters. But I thought about it some more and I was like, well, I don't know how you would make the logistics of that work considering everything that happened. So, because obviously you have to connect the Qingming sword with the creator, and the creator has to be the final boss. So, but yeah. Let me catch up with you guys on YouTube. Dealim, in fact, I enjoyed these later quests just as much as 2.5. I'm excited, man. I've said this before. I the Angels of Delusion event is one of the few permanent events that they let you do ahead of the time before doing the story. So I've already got a little bit of exposure to the Angels of Delusion, and I love Suna. Suna is one of my favorite characters. She's adorable, and I like Arya and Nangang well enough too. I think their event was written very well. They're just adorable. You guys know I like my adorable characters, my cute characters, the characters I must protect. So I'm excited. And I hear this one is like a different a tone, different approach to the storytelling, more kind of in the season one style. So gonna be nice to get like a bit of a palette refresher, kind of transition back to a different type of storytelling before we get to season three. So Wakanaba, I will say I like this patch story. I just don't like the idol faction, and you know what? That's perfect. That's perfectly fair. You can enjoy a story and not be partial towards the main cast of that particular story. So, Jin Sung, that's so valid indeed. Lucro or Ferox Wagadaba? Yeah, it was no. Which one was the first one? The one with the brown hair. And there's one with brown hair and there's one with blue hair, and the one in 2.1 that like was the antagonist first. I was like, bro, I just wish we had a more compelling antagonist here, because Alice and Yuzuha's stories in 2.1 were fantastic. Monato was great as well. I was like really hoping for something more from the antagonist. Walking up, okay, I got Ferox was 2.1 and Lucro was 2.2. Ferox, yeah, okay. Ferox was definitely the worst of the two. Lucro wasn't great, but at least he was a bit more interesting. Like I can kind of remember his visage a bit more than I can remember Ferox, but yeah, bit of a disappointment. So I've only got back to Yunque with Shungus. Honestly, that sounds pretty interesting. I think you're referring to me like swapping the like order of Yishuan and Yeshen Guang stories, right? There's a way you can make it work, but you'd have to rewrite like the core ideas of the season two story. And honestly, I don't know if I would do that because I do like the core like themes and elements of the season two story. In my opinion, and you guys said this multiple times throughout the past several days, the core theme of season two is moving let don't let your past define you, but at the same time pay respect to your past, right? It's all about your past. Like, are you able to move on from your past? Are you going to learn from your past? Can you like not let your past define you? Can you not let it burden you, right? Who are you today? Who will you be in the future based on what you went through before? And I like that. So I don't know if potentially if you were to swap Yi Xuan and Yi Guang's introductions, that core theme could be damaged in some way, and that's not something I want. So have you did the Qingming Sword event already, right? I did, yes. But a lot of it I've forgotten, and a lot of it I just skipped through because I didn't want to get spoiled. So I need to go revisit it. I plan on doing so before season three. Absolutely. So yeah, definitely gonna revisit it. What's going on, Stone? How's it going, my friend? We were talking earlier in Goldie stream. Jinsun, I need more Damien. Yes, okay. What if my small like I don't even want to call it criticisms, but what if my small like nitpicks I think of the Yunque Summit arc or the Wi-Fi Peninsula arc? I want to call it the Wi-Fi Peninsula arc because Yunque is not the main focus of all the stories in season two up until now. So I'll call it the Wi-Fi Peninsula arc. The Wi-Fi arc. One of the main nitpicks is Damien was such a great NPC and such an amazing part of the story in 2.0, 2.1, and 2.2. And then they forget about him after that. Like he's just gone. And I understand, right? They wanted to focus on like the overarching storyline of, the creator and Sarah and Yeshu Yan and Yeshu Guang after that. But there's absolutely a way they could have fit Damien into that storyline, especially with all the top stuff, and made it work. And I was kind of, I don't want to say upset, but I was like wasted potential. Let's say, like I felt like he could have provided a lot to the story, and yeah, I don't know what happened. Maybe they just like I said, they wanted to focus on other things. Maybe the voice actor was unavailable. Who knows? But I did feel like he was underutilized for sure. When you create like such an amazing NPC and you know their position in the story is very flexible, why not use them as much as possible, right? So delimit ZZZ succeeds more when it focuses on the characters instead of an overarching story with exceptions. They have a hard time doing villains. I think I agree with that. That said, the overarching story is necessary. I am very this might be a hot take. I've seen a lot of people say this. I've seen a lot of people say that they didn't like that season two was like more grand, like, bigger in scope, more dramatic in many ways, right? I think it was necessary. I don't think you can continue like the approach in season one for a long time. Yeah, sure enough. Like you want to have smaller form storytelling, absolutely. Absolutely. But you better keep your story short. And ZZZ's story is not going to be short. Jin Sung, thank you so much for the follow. By the way, I haven't said this many times before. At one point, if you ever followed me or if you haven't followed yet and you plan to follow, if I miss your follow, I am so sorry. I get so tunnel vision when we're gaming or reacting to something. My peripheral vision is just completely gone over here though. So I apologize. Sometimes I catch the follows though, and I appreciate it. But going back to what I was saying earlier, yeah, if you're gonna have like a small form story, something closer to like what season one did, where it's the scope of the story is fairly limited, not limited in a bad way. It's limited on purpose, and you build it up a little bit, little by little, and maybe you have like a big climax, right? That's not sustainable. It just isn't. Unfortunately, I wish it was, but eventually, your readers are going to expect progress, or your audience is going to expect progress. And so what you have to do is you have to expand the scope of the story. And ZZZ, as we all assume, like all of their games, is going to go on for a long time. So you have to expand the story. Now you can criticize, okay, once they expanded the scope of the story, they didn't do it that well. Okay, fair enough. I can get behind that. Now, like I said, I personally liked, a lot of what season two did, a lot of what Wi-Fi Peninsula did. So we can have a conversation there about the presentation, about the execution, but I felt it was necessary. I don't think you can continue season one storytelling whatsoever. And season three is just doing it again, right? Like I don't know. A lot of people realize the very fact, the very concept of introducing Sunbringer and Remiel into the storyline expands the story even more. So like they've already expanded the story and the scope of the story to a much greater extent. It's already done. Now let's see if they execute well, right? I think they will, personally. I think they will. So, Swev, Damien got sentenced to NPC jail and is now Zhao's personal photographer slash assistant. What a promotion. Hey, man, look, I would love to work under Zhao, especially after 2.5. She is such a sweetheart. I did not expect to love Zhao as much as I live. Oh, I'm sorry. Zhao Zhao. There we go. Let me call her by her full name. But no, yeah, I think I would have liked Damien to be around a bit more. Stone, that's fair. No, yeah, I agree. I think you're talking about me missing the follow Stone. Jin's son moving over to Twitch. What's going on, man? He did, unfortunately. That really tricked me with the Wi-Fi teaser when he was in the HIA fit. Indeed. D limit. No, I agree with you. Some form of forward movement is needed for a game like ZZZ. Yeah. If you're going to tell smaller forms of storytelling like season one did, you kind of have to end it at season one. Like, I don't think you can really continue, and they're not going to do that, right? They make money from this game. That's why they make the game. So they can make money. It's their product. Stone, hot take though, I feel season two is overhated. I don't think that's a hot take at all. I think a lot of people, from the criticism I've seen, are ignoring a lot of the smaller, finer details of the characterization in season two. I will say, the story in season two, I can kind of see the criticism. I don't necessarily like feel like my criticism of the story of season two is like that deep, but I can understand it. But why are we ignoring the like incredible characterization in season two? The characterization, the character development, the character depth, the backstories, the writing, the dialogue, all of it, in my opinion, better than season one. Maybe not the Lycon Hugo stuff, because that's technically season one. Maybe not that, because that was also really good. But yeah, I fell in love with the season two characters. I thought they were incredible. So, and again, Isolde is the best antagonist that we have in ZZZ. I don't think it's even close. I don't think any other antagonist in the game is on the level of Isolde's impact, charisma, her role in the story. Like the second best antagonist, in my opinion, in ZZZ so far is like a contest between like Sarah and like I don't know if you want to call. the wandering hunter, like these like Yidhari Lucia like story quest an antagonist at that point because they weren't really I guess they were an antagonist in some way. But that was compelling, right? I liked the wandering hunter being, you know, Lucia's father. Anyway, you guys know what I'm saying. Um, but man, like the very fact that Isolde exists in season 2, I think is a big plus. But yes, they struggled to do antagonists, which is unfortunate. I'm hoping that season 3 rectifies that. So, Swev, I remember near the end of 1.x, devs even had explicitly said that they were going to try changing their storytelling method. It's necessary. They couldn't continue with the storytelling method of season 1. They needed to expand it. Now, criticize the execution, but the actual decision to take the story in a different direction, yes, it was necessary. So, from what I've heard from my friend that doesn't like season 2, his main thing he says is, "Why should I care?" Because you're playing it, you're experiencing a story, brother. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really understand. This this might be a hot take. I don't understand the concept of sitting down in front of some piece of entertainment, a movie, a book, a TV show, theater, musical, you name it, right? And sitting down there and expect and like not playing your part, not putting forth the effort. Like, yes, a story should do its best to hook you, to interest you, to grab you, right? And pull you into its world and keep you interested. Yeah. But what's the point of saying, like, why should I care about this? Brother, why even play the game? Why even start up the game? Why even log in? Why even sit down and do the thing, right? Try to enjoy, try to care. Like a big part of you not caring about season 2 is you having made the decision already that you're not going to care, right? Maybe if you know, approach it with like, oh, okay, you know, I'm going to see what this has to offer, right? There's going to be good parts about this and parts that I don't like. Focus on the good parts. Maybe you'll like it a bit more. That said, I am a serial optimist. If you guys haven't already noticed, I am very much an optimist. So, going over to YouTube. What's going on, guest? Good to see you, brother. Yeah, especially when Wise fell on his bum. I was crying right then and there. The Wise slash Bell, because you could have chosen Bell, the Phaethon, and Ye Guang dynamic was every bit as compelling as I expected it to be. And I understand fully why the ship is so popular. And I definitely love her character. I hopefully will get to see her again sometime soon. I would love to see her in this story patch. That would be great. So Nahia said because it doesn't affect the main MC. What do you mean it doesn't affect the MC, brother? Wise or Bell, faith it. Depending on you who you pick, at the climax of 2.5, literally turns into the sun. Do you see him, that motherfucker? His arm turned gold. He turned gold. He fucking went boom. He turned into a star. What do you mean that we literally saw at the end of 2.5 his implants activated. And also just because the outcome of a story doesn't like drastically change the MC's environment or their, you know, physical features, Wise and Bell are absolutely from like a emotional perspective drastically different compared to before, right? Like, are we gonna forget all the Carol Arna stuff? Like, before season 2 or before YFA, Wise and Bell had basically full trust, like blind trust, that Carol Arna did not cause the fall of the old capital, or at the very least, right, she was, you know, unconnected to it. Now there's doubt. Now there's like more introspection about what their former teacher did, what, you know, how she is connected to all this. Who was she talking with, right? What was she thinking, right? If she actually caused the fall of the old capital, did she do it like maliciously, right? Those things are going through their minds now. That is a big change in the psychology of our main characters of this game. There's also many different things, right? All of a sudden, you know, if Yeshin Guang shows up in season 3 at one point, that's a character that the main protagonist, Wise and Bell, now have to account for because they care about the character, right? They've built connections. They've got more connections at tops now with Krampus. They've got more connections with, you know, another Void Hunter level character like Yi Xuan and Yesheng Wang. No offense, Stone. I do think your friend's being a bit tunnel visioned, but I mean, hey, I've always said, look, man, You can experience a story however you want. If you go through a story and it didn't hit for you, or the main themes didn't compel you, or you lost interest and you feel apathetic towards the characters, that's perfectly fine. It just that's how it is. People interpret stories in many different ways. So, so does it even know why we went to Wi-Fi in the first place? LARPer ah statements, gotcha players. Like I said, if gotcha players don't want to read, that's fine. They can choose not to read. The problem is when they choose not to read the story properly and then they start criticizing without having the proper knowledge of the story. That's the problem. At that point, then okay, we're gonna have some conflict. So the limit true, very compelling. Yes, very compelling story and character relationship for sure. Wagadaba, I still hope that they explain that thing about Faith and Kid knowing Shungus Kid, even if it's 5.x. I think they will. That said, if they don't, I'll be fine with it. Like I said, the emotions of that story or that moment, that scene in particular, are what mattered to me, not necessarily the timeline. If ZZZ wants to do timeline shenanigans, like, oh, different timeline and whatever, okay, cool. Like, whatever. Like, this is Hoyoverse. Like, are we really that surprised? But to me, what matters is that scene in particular, the dialogue, the impact it had on Yeshing right? The fact that she likes osmanthus cake so much because she got given osmanthus candy by a baby wise. That's really cute. So let me give his main example. Orpheus slash Isolde's past doesn't affect me. I personally disagree, but I'm just giving his takes. Oh, absolutely, Stone. I absolutely no. Don't. We are not criticizing you at this point. I would even argue we're not criticizing your friend. We're just making general statements. I would argue that Orphe and Isolde's past does affect me personally because I thought their stories were well written, and the emotions that those two characters felt, Orphe and Isolde's, they resonated something within me. Now, can I relate to their past? No, I never joined the military. Surprise, surprise. Um, Nor have I experienced levels of trauma on that they've experienced, right? But I can sympathize with it. I can be empathetic with it. I can feel what they feel, even if I can't relate to it fully. And I felt emotions, and now I care about those characters. So, so if yeah, your friend to me sounds like he just vibed through season one. The same logic of why should I care could be applied to season one. Sounds like it just tuned out near the end of the season one, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah, if you like season one more than season two, and you decided to tune out during season two and just play through it, whatever, man, whatever. Like it is what it is. People can play the game, the story, watch TV however they would like. They can skip a season and go tune into the next season. They can skip the first season. Like it's perfectly fine if you decide to skip through all of season one and play season two. It's perfectly fine if you want to start with season three, then go back with season one and then play through season two. Perfectly fine. The issue is when you take a unorthodox approach to the story and then start to claim certain things about the story as universal truth when it really isn't because other people have different experiences. And there's also a more intended, you know, path to experiencing the story that is out there, even more so than your own. So, but hey, gotcha players, right? So if I know a lot more casual people tuned out of Hugo's story as that story was much longer slash more text. That story was very long. I will say that. But yeah, I mean, like I said, sometimes there are people out there that will play a game or tune into a story, right? And from the start, they will say, I'm not about this character or I'm not about this story arc, and they tune out. They like log out. Their brain goes beep boom boom like the Microsoft sound thing. That's what happens, and they just kind of coast through that particular part of the story. And you know, it is what it is. That's how they chose to experience it. The problem is, again, when they start to argue when they have a discussion about that part of the story, their opinion should hold, in my opinion, less weight than if they were to have paid full attention. So this is also like a person that fucking hates Penacony, just to let you know. Yeah. Your friend Stone just has, I think, a very unorthodox approach to his entertainment. And he's opinionated as well. So that's his that's the sense that I get. Jinsun, sometimes I wonder if people actually pay attention when doing story. I'm such a lore nerd, especially if they just are lore. So I like analyzing everything. So do I. Absolutely. Like I feel like a lot of us are in the same sphere where we pay extra attention to our stories because we are passionate about them, because we want to get every little bit of enjoyment and emotional impact and pleasure for them as we can, right? But other people don't, and we have to accept that. We have to be okay with that. So let me catch up with YouTube here really quick. Rest. There's only explanation. Your friend there once experienced plot, not plot. Plot in quotation marks. Walking on I know at some point we will have time travel since 1.x thanks to HZ Relics Crystal Door, or that's a discarded plot point. No, I definitely think we're gonna get some time shenanigans here. But we'll see when they decide to do it. If they decide to do it, I think it's probably going to be towards the end of season 3. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. Doc, is your mic tweaking out or is it my headphones? I have been told that my microphone occasionally kind of tweaks out for a bit. Doc, Doc, what's going on, my man? Hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming in, brother. But yeah, I don't really know what I can do to control it. Like every time I prepare for stream, like I'm recording before to kind of check audio, it seems perfectly fine. So it's likely some connection with YouTube or Twitch or whatever that while I'm live in OBS, it causes the microphone to kind of like spaz out. So I also agree that hate for season 2 is really blown out of proportion. CCZ has a very loud side of the fandom that complains about everything loud on the internet. Guess unfortunately he tried to fix that and currently has no solution to sudden Mac issues. I'm thinking it's the cable. I'm thinking it might be the cable, and so I have to buy a new one. The problem with a lot of my stuff in streaming is that I troubleshoot and then I can't find the problem. It's really hard to find a solution to a problem if you don't know the source of the problem in the first place. So like it could honestly be like something in my PC is fucked up, but then that would require me to just open my PC and fix it. I don't have the knowledge to do that. So then I have to then take it to a store and have them fix it. But what if the problem isn't my PC? I just spent a shit ton of money fixing my PC for no goddamn reason. So it's difficult, man. It is. Guess I already conditioned my brain to filter out the sudden mic jump scare. I apologize. I apologize, my friends. Which I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. Yeah, scuff has unfortunately become commonplace on my stream. A few weeks ago, we had the constant black screening. I don't know what happened there. I never did anything to like. I think I never found out the source of the black screening, and now we're just not having it. Knock on wood. Doc, people gotta learn subjective versus objective. It's fine to not like something, but that doesn't automatically make it bad. Yeah, absolutely. So that is a age old conflict in storytelling, going back to, I mean, as far as storytelling has existed, right? What are my personal preferences? What do I like versus, okay, is it even possible to establish an objective criteria on storytelling? And then you start introducing different mediums like, oh, I prefer my storytelling as a book or as an anime or as a musical or as a game, right? The water is muddy so intensely that it's impossible to come to a universal truth. Guess, can you ask your Twitch chat if it does the same thing? Hey, my friends on Twitch, do you guys experience my microphone issue as well? Is that a thing? Or is it like only a YouTube thing? Doc, I personally have some pacing complaints with 2.5, but otherwise it seemed just fine. So if yes, I do. Mic crunch. Okay, gotcha. So I do think it could be the cable of some kind. We'll see. The problem is also that I am bursting through streaming every day. So these streams are not short. I have to stream for a very long amount of time each day to catch up to 3.0 before 3.0 releases. I don't have the time to try to fix things. I have work in the morning and throughout the day. Immediately after work, I get off and I get on here. So, but yeah, I apologize. I'm going to do my best to rectify the issue once I have the ability to do so. Yes, I got it. I diagnosed the problem. Your PC is haunted. Oh man. I gotta get Spook Shack in here. They can fix it. It sounds like some kind of radio feedback thing, occasional staticky stuff. I I'll have to go back and see how my audio interface, that's what it's called, sorry, is set up, because this microphone is what they call an XLR microphone, which is a somewhat higher quality microphone than the other type of microphone, which is a USB microphone. And in order to be able to use this type of microphone, I had to buy something called an audio interface. It's basically like a bridge between my microphone and my PC. It's a small device, it's in front of my desk. And I'll be perfectly honest, I haven't really mastered this device. Like I got the original settings, and then I just kind of it kind of just worked, and I just ran with it. So it could be something there. Guess the weird thing is the mic crunch is consistent. Hmm. Let's take a risk. Let's take a risk. Okay. I unplugged and replugged my cable in. Looks like microphone is still working. Let's see if that does anything. But anyway, we're not gonna focus on it too much. I apologize. Like I said, I will do what I can to fix it. But the priority here, we've been live for almost 40 minutes. We're not in the story yet. And so if the microphone crunch is an issue for you and you can't handle it, please leave. I don't want you to stay here and sustain, a disgusting stream. So it didn't. Okay, it is what it is. It is what it is. Mic crunch much better than black screen crashes. There's a way I can listen to myself. I forget how it is, but you would hear it as well. So it would be an echo. You know what? Just add some VCR filter and I'll say something burst. I could try restarting, but from what I've restarted before and it just hasn't fixed it. So, well, let me catch up on Twitch really quick because I've been ignoring them for a while. Hold on. Stone. Okay, here we go. Kind of saddened me because Penacony's story is so good to me. Oh, I love Penacony. Penacony is. I am higher on Penacony than most people. I think it's almost as good as Amphorius. I do recognize Amphorius is my favorite story in Honkai Star Rail, but I think Penacony is very close. Jinsun, yeah, I agree. Despite its flaws, it was still solid. Did you like 3.8? 3.8. Oh, that's Penacony Return. Yes, I did. I thought 3.8 was fantastic, actually. I am incredibly biased with 3.8 just because Firefly is my favorite Honkai Star Rail character, also one of my favorite characters, period, like ever. So, very biased. But I thought it was the only thing I didn't like about 3.8 is that they replaced the Acheron, like, scene where she catches the Trailblazer and brings her up to the Sunday fight with Firefly. I didn't like that. I prefer Firefly's part of the scene. Like I prefer Firefly being the one to bring Trailblazer to the Sunday boss fight. But I don't think I should. I think that should have been the original scene, not replace the Acheron scene slash retcon it. So So one of the lore, I'm scared for when we get to time travel. One of the lore creators I follow hates time travel, and I will dearly miss their content. And they have said that they will stop covering ZZZ lore once time travel shows up in the main story. Yeah, because time travel is a fucking bitch to write. It just is. It's horrible. It is just not fun. So, it's very rarely done well. The reason why I'm okay with time travel in the story is because I've just accepted the fact that it's probably not going to be very good. So I will just appreciate that it's there and try to like it as best as I can, and it can be hype sometimes. So Stone, honestly, no, because half the quest just felt like a recap. Well, yes, and remember, a big part of 3.8 was like, oh, China and Japan are at each other's throats right now. We don't have a lot of resources because we have to completely reinvent uh, 4.x. So they did their best. But I liked the extra characterization that we got for Firefly and the backstory that we got behind this of the all the stuff behind the scenes, right? So Dahlia was cool. I liked her character development, going from like someone who, well, really didn't care about anything to suddenly caring about potentially having human relationships and connection. Jinsung, I stopped using OBS when streaming, laughing my fucking ass off because it would have always have very scuffed streams. The problem with OBS is that it just has a monopoly on everything. There's obviously other options, but I've explored those other options, and everything else just feels very overly complex. What's the word I'm looking for? Convoluted. That's the word I'm looking for. So now we're getting to the part where my microphone, my scuff is starting to dominate the conversation. So, and I can't stand when half a quest feels like a recap for real. I get that, Golio. It just felt like I'm wasting time with half a quest being a recap. Ah, yeah, I can kind of get the sense that, like, okay, like, this is just like a recap after wasting my time. But during that recap, I'm getting, like, extra dialogue and character development for a character that I love. So, eh. Like, at that point, I don't care about the story. I just care about Dahlia and Firefly and Black Swan and everything happening on my stream. I don't, when I say I care about the storytelling, really what I care about more are the characters in the story. I am not a big proponent on, hey, plot. You know, the plot is what moves the characters. The plot is what gives the characters the opportunity to make me feel something. The characters are what makes me feel something. The character writing, the decisions they make, the dialogue that they have between other characters. The plot is simply just a vehicle to have those characters, perform. So, so if the Sakura tree situation in Planet Arcadia made me chuckle. Indeed, indeed. What's going on, Sage? How's it going? Glad to see you guys. Glad to see you. Hope you're all doing well. Yes, I like how we know exactly when Shaoji touched the dialogue in Penacone. 2.0/2.1. The dialogue is fine, but suddenly the dialogue count doubled in 2.2. I was like, damn you, Shaoji. Like cursing an old villain I've known for ages. Yeah, sometimes Shaoji, like I said, I do like Shaoji as a writer. I think there are some things about him that a lot of people dislike and that I can kind of get frustrated with, particularly his dialogue. I think that's probably his weakest part as a writer is that his dialogue can get very flowery, like very like poetic in times, and it just doesn't hit. And but he's incredibly dynamic. He's incredibly dynamic. He can turn the story on its head with a snap of his finger, and there aren't many writers that can do that. So he takes a lot of risks with his writing, and that's something that I like. I respect that. So, but yeah, I will. My like take on Shaoji is there aren't a lot of people that can do what he can do, and up until this point, I've really liked the stories of Hoyoverse, so he has to be doing something right. So, I will take the flaws and appreciate the strengths. Sage, I've seen so many people skipping 4 years for playing Arcadia, and it makes me realize that they'll never see a 3.4. I heard that recently. Like, why are people skipping arguably the best and most like acclaimed story in Star Rail? So, guys, tell me how many times you've heard Birds of Shouji's writing. More times than I can count. The thing is, like, each time he's used it, I don't mind it. Like each time, like he used it in HI3, he used it in Star Rail, right? But like I was in. I was like locked in on both accounts. So like, hey, there's no this is something I firmly believe. There is no single unique idea left in storytelling. You have any idea how long storytelling has been around? Forever. Since almost the dawn of man. Like we have had storytelling for a long time. Every single how many books are there in the world? How many animes? How many games? How many going back to how many TV shows? It is nigh impossible to find a unique, completely original storytelling idea or concept or whatever, right? And if it is somewhat unique, it's similar to something else, right? So I've stopped really caring about like, oh, this is interesting. I've never seen this done before. I really kind of stopped caring about that, and now I just care about like, okay, make me feel something. I've seen this type of story before, but not with this character, right? Not with this presentation, not with this dialogue, right? Okay, it might be the same formula, but you can still work. You can still be effective. Tropes exist, stereotypes exist, cliches exist because they work at if done correctly, right? If executed correctly. So, Sage, I think the length is immensely daunting if they are starting from the start. It's 54 hours long. Yeah, Inforius is literally just its own game. It's a JRPG. It's crazy. Like, oh, would you want to play a JRPG? Just download Honkai Star Rail for free, and you will play a fantastic JRPG. So, guess just please get him better screen dialogue writers. Yes, that is the one thing. Like, keep him away from the dialogue, or hand over that role to someone else. I think his storytelling would go a long way. A long way. His overall plot direction is amazing, that I admit. He's usually very good with twists, not as good as Trails, but when it hits, damn, it hits. I think I think the best thing about Shaoji, is what I said earlier. Shaoji will take risks in his storytelling. He will just make batshit decisions about storytelling, and you will just be like, "What the fuck? This came out of nowhere," and it will somehow just work. like, like for the most recent example. Wait, Shaoji's not doing Planar Cadia, is he? No, he is. He's still one of the lead writers, or one of like the lead supervisors of the Planar Cadia story. I don't know if this was his influence, but do you guys remember when the abundance was first like revealed in Planar Arcadia? Like, how many of us had any idea that the abundance was going to have any major impact in Planar Arcadia, right? We all thought it was just going to be like the elation or like some other path, right? When the abundance was brought into Planar Arcadia, I was like, this feels like Shaoji. And yes, I'm about it. Because now I think some of the best parts in Planet Arcadia are the stuff with the abundance. So that said, Asap Pramod has been absolutely goaded. Asap Pramod has been amazing. So he's been fantastic. Jinsan, an issue I had with Amphoris was with Heislin's, my main. Her and Sarah's story felt a bit rushed. I needed more. I actually like Heislin's. I thought she was handled well. Not perfectly, but well. Saradra's, I agree. That said, I've always defended Saradra because that is the most difficult character they've tried to write in Star Rail. That is, or I guess that is the riskiest character that they've tried to write in Star Rail, which I respect. Right? It didn't. It didn't quite hit. I will admit that. I do think Saradra's story could have absolutely been better, but that was inherently just something hard to do, right? They were basically playing on like hard difficulty or like nightmare difficulty at that point. Like, that's a hard character to pull off, especially in a gotcha game. So I respect the attempt, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But I liked Heiselin's. I liked hers. Sage, he's doing Planar Cadia, but apparently he's not writing the IPC arc in a second half. Interesting. That'll be interesting because I wonder if there's going to be like a clear like difference in tone, right? Difference in kind of the stage and setting of the story. So Sarah was probably the one we actually need to read lore on. I'd like her to have two patches. Yeah. Yeah. I agreed. Agreed. Jinsun, I only knew the abundance was going to be there because it was shown in the Myriad Celestia slash improv trailer. Yeah, kind of. But at the same time, like I just didn't think it was gonna be like, oh, this is another ambrosial arbor. Oh, Evanesia is a abundance abomination. Oh, Shuhu remnants, right? Like it's like crazy impact, crazy plot like direction that just feels like it came out of nowhere, but it works. And that is classic Shaoji. That is like a classic Shaoji like moment there. Like I expected like another one that we got recently. Now I had a comment on this on YouTube, but so I think in retrospect I should have seen this come in. The Asat Pramad being icy, the navigator, that's also a classic Shaoji thing. Like, but considering Himiko is like the main character of Planet Arcadia so far, and she's the navigator, probably should have seen this coming, right? So What's going on, Razzle Lux? First time chatter, welcome in. Not to impose because I don't know your audio limitations, but your mic is on the quieter end for me compared to every other stream I watch, so I have to adjust my own audio to even hear you. Anyways, what's on the high note? Yeah, a lot of I'm definitely gonna have to invest some time into maybe tonight, into figuring out what's going on with audio. Now, that said, on the volume, my stream is structured in a way to you should I do like handle my audio mixing assuming that your audio is as high as it can go. I do mix my audio with that assumption because I feel like that's the only assumption I can make. I can't assume anything else. Like I can't assume most people are at 50% or 60% or 40%. No one's going to have their audio at 0%. That's just not going to happen. So the most reliable assumption I can make is that most people will have their audio all the way turned up. So I mix with that in mind. But the one audio thing that I am concerned about right now is the fact that my mic seems to be kind of spotty at the moment. So Raza Lux. Anyway, what's the high note? The high note is just a play on words because I like making my stream titles like some type of like witty idiom. So, because the Angels of Delusion are a band, right? Because they are musically inclined. Says also just watch your 2.5 ZZZ stream. I knew you didn't like the setup at the end. Yes. Also, Razalux, ooh, here we go. I'm gonna let this through. Razalux, I usually stay around 10 like 30 because I don't like getting randomly ear raped. No, that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. Like I said, but like other people, right? They might prefer their audio being higher. They could be older, right? They could be like an older part of my audience that is hearing like their hearing is impaired, right? So they have their volume a bit higher. So to me, the only I guess precise option I can even choose is assuming that people have their volume all the way up. So I do mix my audio with that in mind. I apologize, Razel. I do apologize. I understand. It's hard, right? It's hard as a streamer to try to cater to everyone. I do my best, but still, it is difficult. Let me catch up with YouTube here really quick. Guest, ooh, also his writing about connecting everything to everything. I really like that part of his writing. Yes, agreed. One of Xiaoji's best strengths as a writer is his ability to actually utilize the lore of the game or story that he is, writing on. Not many writers can write lore, write a plot, like a plot outline, and somehow do a good job at connecting both. Most writers can do both. They can write lore and they can write a plot outline, like a story outline, and then they try to connect them and it just doesn't work. I am one of those writers. Let me make that clear. I suck at connecting my lore to my main story. But Xiaoji can. That is one of the things he is very good at, yes. Guess the abundance thing on Planet Arcadia was like a brain fart moment when I realized, is that why the trees are orange? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Yeah, I mean, no. The trees are orange mainly for the reason that Japan and China decided to have a political global tension that forced them to change it to pink. But that's maybe an in-universe justification for it, sure. Yes, and I don't know if this is specifically Xiaoji, but I really like how there's a main cast with the Astral Express family. Yes, I don't think that's Xiaoji. I don't think so. But the story decision of Honkai Star Rail and Hoyoverse to finally say, you know what? Let's give our story a main cast. Thank God. Fucking hell. Also, Zenless Zone Zero, thank God Bell exists. Like, thank God it's not just one protagonist. Thank God there's a sibling pair because it saved the game, in my opinion. One of my biggest criticisms about Genshin is the fact that it's just a traveler and it's just Paimon. That's it. That is one thing I don't like about the Genshin story. I wish Genshin had a main cast or something closer to Wise and Wanda. And did the same thing on HI3, which is one of the main reasons I love HI3. Yep. I'm of the opinion that you should have the main cast in your gacha game. Always. Sage, have you changed your thoughts on Shungus after her arc? Yes, I like her more now. I always liked Ye Shenguang, but big fan. Big fan now. Razalux, I've discussed story countless times already. I don't even know what input I'd like to give. Well, feel free to put any input you would like, Razalux. Feel free. I try to keep this as transparent a space as I can. That said, I do also prioritize optimism, positivity, kindness, compassion, consideration. So there are times where being honest is something that I will frown upon because, like, basically the concept of like, hey, if it's not nice, don't say it, right? Sometimes I believe sometimes you should prioritize, you know, being a positive person, having a positive impact, rather than saying what's on your mind every single time. I'm not a very blunt person, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Jinsun, so glad we are seeing both the dynamics of Astral Express and Sailor Run Hunter's family in Planar Arcadia. Indeed. Honkai Star Rail didn't just give us one main cast, they gave us two, and look how loved they are. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so guys, we are an hour into the stream. We haven't even started the main story yet. Here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do. This is kind of like viewership suicide, but like I said, I've never cared about viewership at all. We're gonna end stream. I'm gonna give it a different title, and I'm gonna restart. We'll see if that does anything for the microphone issue. If it doesn't, it is what it is, and we'll continue with another stream. So a fresh new VOD that, and then we'll start the 2.6 main story. So we'll be back in say what, like 10, 15 minutes. Gonna play around with a couple of things. New VOD, new everything. It's gonna be, brand new, but same day. It won't be gone for too long. So, but let me catch up here really quick before we do that. Swev, the yapping and stalling will never end. I apologize, Swev. I'm sorry. Razalux, I am quite blunt, but I try not to be mean. I know opinions can potentially make others feel bad, and I never state them with that intent. Well, that is very mature of you. And also, I respect the self awareness. I respect the self awareness. The most important thing about if you are naturally a blunt and honest person is knowing that you being blunt and honest can put people off and trying to adjust, right? Whenever that happens. So, all right. I will see you guys here in a bit. Hopefully, you guys are still around. If not, perfectly fine. You should see the YouTube VOD pop up in 15 or so minutes. If it doesn't fix the mic issue, I'm not gonna stay there. We're gonna keep going forward. If this doesn't do anything, it is what it is. See you guys.